I remember the exact moment it happened. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet. Like something inside me slowly letting go without asking permission. I didn't chase you when you pulled away. I told myself I was giving you space. I told myself I was being strong. But the truth is, I was afraid. Afraid that if I reached for you, you wouldn't reach back. Afraid that I already felt too much. Now, the silence you left behind has a shape. It sits across from me at night. It breathes in the empty spaces of everything I built after you. I became everything I thought I needed to be. Successful, composed, untouchable, and somehow completely alone inside it. I keep replaying the smallest moments, the ones I thought didn't matter, the ones I didn't fight for. Tell me, did you feel me slipping away too? Or was I the only one pretending we still had time? Because if I lost you by staying silent, then maybe this is the truth I was always meant to face. I don't sleep the way I used to. I thought, not peacefully, just enough to forget, and then remember again. I'm not young anymore, not in the ways that matter. Time has taken things from me I didn't even realize I was losing, and somehow I still carry the weight of what I never said. I almost didn't say this, but you deserve honesty, even if it comes too late. Something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. There was a night I still can't shake. Nothing special about it on the surface. Just an empty kitchen. One dim light humming above me. A glass of water I never finished. I remember staring at my phone. Your name was there. Unanswered messages. Not angry, not demanding, just waiting. And I didn't reply. Not because I didn't care. That's the lie I told myself back then. The truth is harder to admit. I cared too much, and it scared me. I had already learned what it feels like to lose something real. Learned how quickly warmth can turn into distance. How easily someone can become a memory you weren't ready to hold. So I built something inside me, a quiet wall. Invisible but strong enough to keep anything from getting too close.
Even you. You tried, didn't you?
You didn't push. You didn't demand anything from me. You just stayed. Softly. Patiently. Like you were waiting for me to meet you halfway. And I kept standing still. I remember the way your voice sounded late at night. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just tired in a way that didn't ask for attention. You would pause sometimes. Yep. Like you were deciding whether to say something and then choosing silence instead. I noticed. I always noticed. But I didn't step in because somewhere deep inside me, I believed something dangerous, that if I stayed slightly distant, I wouldn't get hurt when you eventually left. I thought I was protecting myself. I didn't realize I was slowly teaching you how to live without me. There was a moment, small, almost forgettable, but it comes back to me more than anything else. You said, I don't want to feel like I'm the only one here. And I laughed it off. God, I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know how to answer it without exposing everything I was hiding. So I chose it as the easier thing. Silence wrapped in indifference. That's the part that stays with me. Not the big things. Not some dramatic ending. Just that quiet, careless response. The moment you realize something I refused to admit. I was there, but I wasn't really there. And I think that's when something's inside you began to close. Not all at once, not in a way I could clearly see, but slowly, like a door that doesn't slam. Just not gently moves until it's no longer open. I felt it. Even then I felt it. But instead of reaching for you, I pulled back even more. Because that fear in me, it doesn't shout. It doesn't break things. It just whispers. It says, don't get too close. Don't rely on anyone. Nothing stays. And I listen to it over you. That's what breaks me now, not that you left, but that I made it easier for you to leave. There were nights that you were gone, when everything I had built around me felt meaningless. The success, the structure, the control, all of it looked the same, but it felt empty. Like I had traded something alive for something that only looked stable from the outside. I would sit in the dark sometimes. No music, no distractions, just silence, the kind that presses against your chest. And I would think about reaching out, typing your name, letting the words finally come out the way they should have before. But every time, I stopped myself because I didn't know if I had the right anymore. And maybe that's the hardest truth to live with it. Realizing that the moment you are ready to speak, the person you needed to hear you was no longer there to listen. I never said this then, but I will now. I was afraid you would see through me, see the parts I worked so hard to hide. The doubt, the emptiness, the feeling that no matter what I achieved, I was still not enough to be chosen and kept. So I chose distance before you could choose absence. And in doing that, I created the exact ending I feared. It's strange how the mind works like that. It protects you by slowly destroying the very thing you needed. I don't know where you are now. I don't know if you still think about those nights, those conversations that almost became something real. But I know this, you weren't asking for too much. You were asking for something simple. Presence, honesty, a hand that didn't pull away when things started to feel real. And I couldn't give it to you, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how to stay when something actually mattered. There's a kind of regret that doesn't fade. It doesn't scream. It doesn't collapse you all at once. It just stays. Quiet, constant, like a shadow that never fully leaves the room. That's what you became for me. Not a memory I can neatly place in the past, but something that lingers in the spaces between everything else. And sometimes, late at night, I still catch myself wondering if I had just answered that message, if I had just stayed a little closer, if I had chosen you instead of my fear, would you still be here? Or was I always meant to learn love this way, by letting it slip through my hands while I convinced myself I had time? I don't talk about this part. Not because I forgot, but because I remember it too clearly. I've lived long enough to know how to hide things, to smile when I should have spoken, to move forward while something inside me stayed behind. I almost didn't say this, but you feel like the one place I can't pretend anymore. Something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. There was after you gone, was a morning after you were that didn't feel real, not in a dramatic way, just hollow. The room looked the same. The light came in the same way through the window. Even the air felt unchanged, but something was missing. And for the first time, I couldn't distract myself from it. I walked into the kitchen, opened the cabinet, stood there longer than I needed to, like I was waiting for something to appear, some sign that what I lost hadn't actually left. But it had. That's when it started to sink in, not all at once, but in slow, unbearable pieces. You weren't coming back. And worse than that, I didn't deserve for you to. That's the part I've never said out loud. I didn't just lose you. I understood why. And there's something heavier about that kind of truth. Because there's no one else to blame. No story you can twist to make yourself feel better. Just a quiet realization that you had something real in your hands and you chose not to hold it tightly enough. I used to think regret would feel loud, like breaking, like something collapsing inside me. But it didn't. It felt steady, like a low weight on my chest that never really lifts. I carried on. Of course I did. That's what people like me do. We don't fall apart in ways others can see. We become more structured, more focused, more distant. I poured myself into work, into building things that made sense, things that didn't leave, things that didn't ask me to open up. And from the outside, it probably looked like I was doing well. But inside, there was this quiet absence that nothing seemed to fill. Not success, not attention, not anything temporary I tried to use as a distraction. Because what I lost with you wasn't something replaceable. It was something I didn't even fully understand at the time.
You saw me, not the version I presented to the world, not the controlled, careful, untouchable version, but the one underneath it, the one I barely allowed myself to look at. And instead of letting you stay there, I pulled away.
There's a memory I keep coming back to. It doesn't make sense why this one stays, but it does. You were sitting across from me, quiet, not upset, not angry, just present. And you looked at me in a way I didn't know how to handle. Like you were trying to understand something I hadn't even admitted yet. You asked me, "Why do you act like you're already alone?" I didn't answer. I remember looking away, picking something up off the table. Anything to avoid that moment. Because if I had answered honestly, I would have had to say something I wasn't ready to face. That I had been alone for a long time, even when I wasn't. Even when someone was sitting right in front of me, trying to reach me. I never said this then, but I will now. I did believe I could keep something real. Not long term, not fully. I thought everything meaningful had an expiration I couldn't control. So instead of risking the pain of losing it later, I created distance early. I made things feel temporary before they had the chance to become permanent. And that belief, it didn't protect me. It cost me you. That's the shame I carry. Not just that I let you slip away, but that I knew deep down I was doing it while it was happening. I felt it in the pauses, in your voice, in the way your messages became less frequent, in the way you stopped asking certain questions. You adjusted to my distance instead of fighting it. And I let you, because some part of me thought if she stays like this, I won't have to change. That's a hard thing to admit. That I chose comfort over connection, control over closeness, silence over something that required me to be seen fully. There are nights now when I sit in a room that's too quiet and I think about how different things could have been, not in some fantasy way, just in small, real moments, answering your message when it mattered, staying in the conversation instead of pulling away, saying what I felt before it became too late to say it at all. I don't romanticize it. I don't pretend it would have been perfect, but it would have been real. And I think that's what I miss the most, not you as an idea, but you as something real I experienced and didn't hold on to. There's something else I need to admit. Even now, after everything, a part of me still struggles with the same fear. That if something like that comes again, I might not know how to hold it without losing myself. That I might repeat the same pattern and watch something meaningful slip away again. That's what scares me. not being alone. I've learned how to live with that. What scares me is the possibility of being given another chance and not knowing how to become the man who can keep it. But sometimes, in the quietest moments, there's a thought I don't fully trust yet. A small one, almost easy to ignore, that maybe losing you wasn't just an ending. Maybe it was something that was meant to break me open in a way I couldn't avoid anymore. Maybe it was the only way I would ever see myself clearly. Not the version I constructed, but the one underneath it, the one that feels, the one that hesitates, the one that wants something real, even if it's afraid of it. And if that's true, then maybe, just maybe, there's still a part of me that hasn't completely closed off. A part that could, if given the right moment, if given someone who sees through the silence, learn how to stay. Not perfectly, not without fear, but honestly, present. There's a future I don't talk about. I don't let myself stay there too long, because hope still feels unfamiliar. But it exists in fragments, in quiet thoughts that come and go. A version of me sitting across from someone, not pulling away, not hiding, just there, fully. And for once, not waiting for it to end. I don't know if I've deserved that. I don't know if I've changed enough to hold it. But I know this. Losing you taught me something I can't unlearn. Silence isn't safety. Distance isn't protection. And love doesn't wait forever for someone to be ready. Now I sit with that truth, not trying to fix it, not trying to escape it, just holding it the way I should have held you. And sometimes, when the room gets quiet enough, it almost feels like there's still something left unsaid, hanging in the air between what was and what never got the chance to be. I don't know how to begin this part without feeling it in my chest first. It's heavier now, slower, like something inside me aged faster than the rest of my life. I've built a life that looks complete. People see it and assume I found what I was searching for. But they don't hear the silence that sits behind everything. I almost didn't say this, but you feel like the last place truth still matters. Something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. There are nights when the room feels colder than it should. Not because of the air, but because of the absence. I leave lights on sometimes. Not all of them, just one. Like I'm trying to convince myself I'm not alone. It doesn't work. The quiet still finds me. I sit there longer than I should, thinking about things that don't have answers anymore. Moments that passed without knowing they mattered. There's one that returns more than the others. You standing near the door. Not leaving yet, but not staying either. Your hand resting against the frame. Your eyes searching for something in me I couldn't give you then. You didn't ask for anything in that moment. Not directly, but I felt it. The question you didn't say out loud. Are you going to stop me or let me go? And I stood there, not cold, not uncaring, just frozen, because stepping forward meant everything would become real, and real meant risk, and risk meant loss. So I chose stillness, and stillness was the same as letting you walk away. That image doesn't leave me. Not the way you looked, not the way the room felt, not the silence that filled the space between us. I never said this then, but I will now. I wanted to stop you. Every part of me felt it. But there was something stronger than that feeling. Something quieter, but more controlling. A belief I had carried for too long. That if I held on too tightly, I would lose everything anyway. So I convinced myself that letting go early would hurt less. I was wrong. It doesn't hurt less. It just lasts longer. It stretches into years, into moments like this, into rooms that feel full of something that isn't there anymore. I think that's when I started to understand something about myself I had avoided for years. I wasn't just afraid of losing people. I was afraid of being known. Because once someone truly sees you, they also see the parts you've tried to hide, the uncertainty, the emptiness you can't explain, the fear that you might not be enough when everything is stripped away. You saw those things, maybe not all at once, maybe not clearly, but enough to stay. And that's what I didn't know how to accept, that someone could see me and still choose not to leave. It felt unfamiliar, and instead of leaning into it, I questioned it, pulled away from it, protected myself from something that wasn't trying to hurt me. That realization didn't come right away. It came slowly, in quiet reflections, in moments where I had nothing left to distract myself with, in the way your absence started to feel louder than anything else in my life. There were times I almost reached out, more than once, late at night, phone in my hand. Your name still there, like a door I could open if I just allowed myself. But every time, I stopped. But because I didn't know what I would say that wouldn't feel like it came too late. And maybe it did. Maybe some words lose their meaning when they aren't spoken at the moment they were needed. That's something I've had to accept. Not easily, not completely, but enough to stop pretending I can undo what's already been done. Still, there's something I haven't let go of. Not you, but what you showed me. The possibility of something real. Something that doesn't rely on control or distance or pretending I don't feel as much as I do. I carry that now, carefully, like something fragile I don't fully trust myself with yet. Because I've seen what happens when I don't understand my own patterns. I've seen how easily I can create distance without meaning to. How silence can feel safer in the moment, but cost everything in the end. Not perfect, not perfect. Just honest. A connection where I don't feel the need to hold back, where I don't measure every word or prepare for the ending before the beginning has even settled. And sometimes, in the quietest corners of my thoughts, you become a symbol of that. Not as someone I expect to return, but as someone who showed me what I wasn't ready to understand. Someone who, if things had been different, might have stayed. That's a difficult kind of acceptance, because it holds both truth and loss at the same time. You were real, and I wasn't ready, and life doesn't pause for that kind of realization. It just keeps moving, leaving you to catch up with understanding long after the moment has passed. Now I sit with a different kind of awareness, not loud, not overwhelming, just present. I notice things I didn't before. The way silence feels heavier when it's shared. The way presence matters more than words. The way small moments are never actually small when they involve something real. I've learned that too late for us, but maybe not too late for what comes next. If there is a next. That's the part I don't say out loud often, because hope still feels unfamiliar in my hands, like something I could easily drop if I hold it the wrong way. But it's there, quiet, not demanding anything, just existing. like a possibility I'm slowly learning not to push away. And if I'm being honest, there are moments when I imagine what it would feel like to sit across from someone again and not hesitate, not pull back, not let fear decide what I do next. Just stay fully, even if it scares me, even if it risks everything. Because I know now the real loss isn't what happens when something ends. It's what happens when you never fully allow it to begin. That's what I did with you. I never let it begin. And now I live with the quiet space that decision left behind. Sometimes it feels like you're still there. Not in a way I can reach, but in the way certain memories don't fade. They just soften around the edges, while staying exactly where they've always been. And in those moments, when the night is still enough, I find myself wondering something I'll probably never have an answer to. If I had taken one step forward, just one, would everything have changed? Or was losing you always part of the path that led me here? To a version of myself that finally understands what it means to stay. I don't feel the same as I used to. Not numb, not exactly, just quieter inside. There's less resistance now. Less pretending. Less of that constant need to protect myself from something that was never trying to hurt me in the first place. I almost didn't say this, but you feel like the only place where the truth still matters in its raw form. Something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. There's a kind of stillness that comes after you've lost something you can't replace. Not the kind that breaks you, the kind that settles into you. I carry it differently now, not as a wound that bleeds, but as something deeper, a quiet understanding that I was given something real and I didn't recognize it while I had it. That truth doesn't fight me anymore. It just stays. There are nights when I don't reach for distractions anymore. No noise, no movement. Just me sitting with everything I used to avoid. And strangely, it doesn't feel as heavy as it once did. Not because it matters less. I let it exist, the regret, the memory, the version of you that still lives somewhere in the quiet parts of my mind. Try to change it anymore. I don't rewrite it into something easier to carry. I just hold it, honestly. I never said this then, but I will now. Losing you didn't just show me what I did wrong. It showed me who I was becoming, someone distant, someone controlled, someone who believed that feeling less was the same as being safe. And I see now that version of me wasn't strong. He was just afraid of needing something real, afraid of depending on something he couldn't control, afraid that if he opened fully, there would be nothing left to protect him when it ended. But life doesn't work that way. Closing yourself off doesn't prevent loss. It just guarantees a different kind of it. The kind where you're still here, but what mattered is gone. I understand that now. Not in theory, not in words, but in the way it feels to sit in a room and know that something meaningful once lived there and you didn't keep it alive. That awareness changed me slowly, not in some sudden moment of clarity, but in small shifts, in the way I listen now, in the way I notice things I used to overlook, in the way I no longer pull back the moment something starts to feel real. It's not perfect. There are still moments where the old fear shows up, quiet, familiar, telling me to stay guarded, to keep distance, to avoid anything that might take something from me again. but I don't follow it the same way anymore. I hear it, and I choose differently. Not always easily, not without hesitation, but with awareness. And that feels like something I didn't have before. There's a version of the future I've started to allow myself to see. Not clearly, not fully, just enough to feel its shape. A moment where I'm sitting across from someone and I don't hold back, where I don't measure how much I give, where I don't prepare for the ending before I've even experienced the beginning, where I stay, even when it feels unfamiliar, even when it asks something from me I used to avoid. And in those moments, I think of you, not as something I'm trying to return to, but as something that made this version of me possible. That's a strange kind of gratitude, the kind that exists alongside loss, the kind that doesn't erase what happened, but gives it meaning. You were never something temporary, even if I treated you that way. You were a moment in my life that carried more weight than I understood at the time. And losing you forced me to see that there's something else I've come to accept. Some connections, they don't come back, not because they weren't strong enough, but because their purpose wasn't to stay. Their purpose was to change you, to show you something you couldn't see on your own, and then to leave you with that understanding. You were that for me. And I carry it now, not as something that haunts me the way it used to, but as something that shaped me into someone who might, if given the chance again, do things differently. There's still an ache. I won't pretend there isn't. It's softer now, less sharp, but it's there in certain moments, in certain silences, in the way some memories still arrive without warning and sit with me for a while before fading again. I don't fight them anymore. I let them stay as long as they need to, because they're part of something real. And I don't want to treat anything real like it didn't matter. There's a kind of peace in that, not the kind that raises the past, but the kind that allows you to live with it without it, everything you feel. And maybe that's the closest thing I have to healing. Not moving on, not forgetting, just understanding, accepting, becoming someone who doesn't run from what he feels anymore. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if life gives people like me another chance at something real, or if some lessons are meant to stay as lessons with whatever, as something new. But I know this, if there is a moment where I'm given something real again, I won't stand still this time. I won't let silence speak for me. I won't choose distance when what I really want is closeness. Because I know now what it costs to hesitate. And I know what it feels like to sit in the quiet after losing something that doesn't have to be lost. That's not something I ever want to experience again. Even if it means risking and everything. Even if it means feeling more than I'm used to. Even if it means facing the possibility of loss with my eyes open this time. Because the truth is, what I'm afraid of isn't losing something real anymore. It's never fully having it at all. And if life gives me one more chance, even just one, I think I'm finally the kind of man who would know how to stay. Not perfectly, not without fear, but honestly. And maybe that's all something real ever needed from me in the first place.